Behind the Reality, the podcast that dives deep into stories and trends that shapes the world today in ways you do not expect. My name is Kofo, and of course, I am your host, and you are tuned into UrbanPop Podcast. Today's topic, we are diving into something that is not only startling, but also thought-provoking. Bumps, skills, and surprises. The reality behind gestational weight gain in the Gen Z era. I mean, it is now known that ladies, they get pregnant intentionally just to gain weight and then they terminate it later on. I mean, that's... So, in order to unpack this complex topic, we have a guest in the studio. His name is Dr. Jimoh Mubarak. He's a medical doctor and a public health educator, and he's also known as Dr. Alabere. We are pleased to have you in the studio. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you, Kofo. I'm pleased to be here.
Okay. So, based off on the topic, gestational weight gain, so your initial reaction to that, I mean, when you heard of it first, okay, ladies do this, what was your initial reaction?
Personally, as a medical doctor,
Yes.
we see a lot of situations, both that links to medical and societal norms. And in this particular situation, the Gen Zs, suppose the Gen Zs have been following some societal norms and trends lately. Now, before we can unpack this topic, I have to give an idea into what the topic looks like. First of all, what is gestational
Weight gain.
That's a situation where there's a physiological gain of weight during the whole entire pregnancy process. Usually, it becomes more in the second trimester because pregnancy is divided into trimesters. The most weight gain usually occurs between the third
After 3 months,
and
that's 4 to
the
6 months. Yes.
And so the reason why this topic is very important is because majority of those abortions that are done that would ensure there's adequate weight gain, that suppose Gen Z would have a big amount of weight in her, usually occurs at the second trimester, and it is bad health-wise because it's more risky. Usually, I must also say that abortion in Nigeria is illegal. And there has been a proliferation of abortion in Nigeria since forever. Medical experts usually have been advising for some advising for legalization of abortion, others would advise for safe abortion processes. But in this particular situation, due to societal norms in which there's issues of body shaming, some women want to
beauty standards and all.
Some women want to increase their weight. So I must believe that it's something that happened maybe usually in what you call the female WhatsApp group. I believe there are females usually follow trends based on what their friends or peers.
And we cannot just say we want to look down on the influence of social media nowadays. So it is what we see, what everybody is seeing on what is the trend nowadays, because the social media that makes everything separate.
Exactly. So what I've noticed is due to the beauty standards nowadays, if we go back and we look at Africans, we're talking about Nigeria here, we appreciate more thicker, curvier women. And at normal physiology of a Gen Z, we're supposed to be below, I would say, 25. Usually, they're not expected to have that kind of a body yet. But they have figured out that usually if they can increase their weight drastically over a very short time, some of them don't want to go through the normal process of maybe dieting, consulting a medical practitioner, going to the gym. They'll prefer shortcuts. So
result faster.
That's why we have this phenomenon. I don't believe that it is an epidemic of such yet, but it happens, especially for around places where students, university students are.
Yeah.
That's where it occurs more majorly.
Okay. So I guess if we are talking about this, we need to look at the societal pressure. We need to look at body image, beauty standards that are being set nowadays, and the influence of social media.
Exactly.
What societal or cultural pressure do you think contribute to this particular thing?
So in this environment, due to the social media age that we are,
Yes.
there's a lot of stigma. Some of it would include body shaming in females. We also have this situation where, like I mentioned earlier, Africans prefer sort of like thicker cover women.
Yes.
So in those situations, a lot of females will prefer to get shortcuts to make those happen. And usually it leads to a lot of issues like depression,
Yes.
like eating disorders. Some people would naturally not just like themselves. I've even seen situations where body shaming leads to suicide.
Speaking of that, I didn't like myself in secondary school as well, because I was always like among my peers, they were always body shaming me. That some people just look at you, you're too thin, you're flat. Everybody in the class, so some people are already growing breasts, they are growing thick thighs, growing boobs and everything, booty, everything. But we are just so now imagine we're still in secondary school. What did they know that is like I'm not even done growing? And people, so from there, I think all these stuffs, yes, all these thoughts would have crept into some people's minds.
Yes. So we're in an information age where practices of other people usually travel fast.
Yeah.
Imagine a post on TikTok in 24 hours can garner millions of views.
Yes.
So obviously, any new trend travels faster nowadays. And that has affected how, both positively and negatively, how we view things generally. And then one major factor is also our so-called superstars, the actors, the actresses, models. Most of the time, their actions usually tend to shape in how the general public tend to. Yeah. And that in Nigeria, I think we see that happening a lot, that body shaming even occurs to those so-called social media.
Yes.
We've heard of stories of fake doctors doing BBL. We've seen females.
People that even die in the process.
We've seen females saving a lot of millions to go and shaping their body. So what happens to that poor girl from a poor background that just has access to social media, but she doesn't have a good family support, friends, and maybe she has a low self-esteem. By the time she is bombarded by the social media trends, so every time, usually it turns to situations where they make very wrong medical judgments.
Okay, so what are the psychological factors that can make a young girl think that, okay, this is the only means for me to get this body weight I want?
So usually people that have that have been previously body shamed or have bad body image of themselves, most of the time the common ones will be anxiety. Over time, it leads to depression sometimes. When you go out, you get a negative comment. It affects their self-esteem. Sometimes on social media, they'll be looking at the number of likes and comparing if it's another female that has
and the rate of cyberbullying these days, actually, especially TikTok and Twitter.
Exactly.
Let's go those apps. Oh, parents used to say, let's call it all way.
So social media has even driven people to suicide. So it's actually a very serious situation that needs to be nipped in the bud. And I believe the solutions are not so difficult. It's just like we are doing, bringing it to the consciousness of the general public, like, oh, something like this is happening, it's negative for your health.
Yeah.
There's no need to do that. There are better options, and you can get help from people.
Okay. So personally, have you encountered or have you studied cases of these young girls where they've openly discussed these things? Probably like people that have had like a real life experience, and you were present, or probably you're a public health educator and a medical doctor. So I'm sure you might have had like some experiences with them or encounters.
That's very good. It's an opportunity for me to talk a little about my experience and what I do.
Okay.
So, I'm a medical doctor, and I've been practicing telemedicine for a while. By telemedicine, I mean use of social media and social messengers to communicate with my patients, general public. It's a way of me giving back to society and also doing that education. So there's been situations where I've posted something similar to this, and I've gotten reactions and comments. I've also gotten situations where patients, especially the younger ones, would come into my DM and explain what problems they're having with. They could have even abused some form of drugs, because right now we have so much proliferation of fake drugs, and everybody's like a nurse, a doctor, a pharmacist.
Everybody just wants to make money. So the way that rich people nowadays, they do anything for money, even if they are not experienced, they might just be one quack, a belly nurse or something, and you carry yourself there and see how to do abortion and stuff like that.
I agree with you. And based on this topic, I believe one of the solutions to it would be to seek for health education, or talk to a friend, talk to ensure you look at where you're getting your health solved, because in Nigeria people prefer cheap, and people also prefer what's hyped up on social media. The reason why there's a code, a medical ethical code that says medical doctors or healthcare practitioners, both pharmacists, doctors, nurses, they're not expected to advertise themselves, and in which case it limits sometimes the exposure to the good ones. Mostly the people that would be making so much publicity online, selling things on WhatsApp and Instagram, most of them, if you really check, they're not really authentic. But because my friend is doing it, or I've seen something, but it's, and usually, let me give you an example. So a patient came into my DM and asked me, "Doctor, what can I do about my tiny penis size?" I'm like, okay. I tried to ask him questions about how has he been feeling? Has he looked for help somewhere else before? And this guy told me that realistically he's been trying to solve this problem for 3 years, and he spent fortune on it, trying to talk to different vendors online. And my own medical advice to him, I had to invite him over to come and see me, so I can actually talk to him personally and encourage him that really that's how God has given him.
But is it like there's a solution to somebody having a tiny weenie?
No medical solution. So anybody that comes on social media and tells you, "I'm going to sell you a dick enlargement product,"
6 inches, 8 inches.
Usually, it's either it's something that has a side effect later, or it's fake. And in both cases, you can't go back to them to request for refunds, because
you already got the product.
You already, apart from getting the product, there's a stigma around that. So one of the best solutions will be, and that's why we're discussing this topic,
Yes.
so that females can know that there are other ways they can increase their weight healthily, not just by finding a shortcut, which will be detrimental to their health in the long run. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are the long-term and short-term risks regarding this method followed by abortion?
Okay, so naturally, abortion is a process of termination of pregnancy. In Nigeria, it's illegal, and but it's very rampant. A lot of people do it, both in the normal hospital environment and also in very ridiculous places. But then, the most common ones are the side effects of the termination of pregnancy itself, which will range from UTI to destruction of the female reproductive organ, which will include the cervix. Mostly, it can also lead to sepsis, which is like a situation where it usually lands the female in the hospital. But for this particular topic,
I have a question. Can you please elaborate more on what sepsis is?
Okay, so sepsis is like a situation where you have a complete overwhelming of your body by a bacteria, which usually starts from a particular area. In this case, to start from your reproductive organ, maybe due to the poor process of the abortion, maybe by use of dirty instruments, or maybe the practitioner didn't give the patient enough antibiotics at first. So, because most females that have these abortions, most of them, especially in the teenage years or the Gen Z, they are uneducated and don't have a prior experience. So usually it's hard for them to want to open up to somebody. So they'll usually go to the cheapest, most accessible option to them. Mostly chemists, pharmacists, and the likes, or
so that their friends recommend it
or
to
somebody. And then usually it leads to for a student that has an abortion, mostly their partner don't even know.
Yeah.
Sometimes the partner know, and maybe they both don't have enough money to solve it, and they can't tell their parents. So in which case, they're going to be looking for shortcuts that will make that happen. And they usually run into a problem.
Okay. So, how do you think this whole gestational weight gain and these young girls wanting to go by this means to gain weight, how do you think it is different from the normal way of gaining weight by just dieting or going to the gym, and why do they find it so appealing? I genuinely want to know what they are looking for. Like, why do you think it is that option they are going for?
I would suggest that, or I would think that apart from wanting to cut corners, I feel it's less expensive. Usually, dieting would be more expensive. The option of the gym, maybe due to lack of focus and discipline, they won't want to invest the 3 months, 6 months process. So they'll prefer something that is just cheap and natural. In this case,
so they would rather get pregnant, and then
it must have started as a joke somewhere. And
I wonder the first girl that did this thing and what she was thinking.
I can't phantom him.
Because intentionally getting pregnant, you say, okay, I want people that say they don't want.
At this point, I want to mention some really serious side effects.
Yes.
Weight gain in pregnancy itself is a side effect of pregnancy. Usually, we hear stories of women naturally, even after giving birth, finding it hard to lose that weight.
Together,
and that's one of the I think one of the reasons why that weight gain through pregnancy is usually is being looked at by those women, because it's a harder form of it's usually hard to lose those kind of weight, because, and then one other thing about this gestational weight gain is the locations in which the fat or weight is gained is appealing to the mentality of the girl. She usually would have an increased breast, bigger or thicker thighs, increased buttocks, and those are actually like
solutions they need.
The solution exactly she's looking for. So I think that explains why that is happening. The other thing is it can actually lead to cardiovascular problems, which include high blood pressure, and it's one of the reasons why I'm advocating for this particular entity to be discouraged. Wait till you naturally want to get pregnant. There are a lot of contraceptive possibilities. Look for real information online. You don't necessarily have to go. You can Google things and talk to somebody.
Yeah, I feel it's the hardest way.
The complications of pregnancy, even in early pregnancy, should scare off some people. The excessive vomiting, the body weakness, it should discourage people from doing that. But like I said, you never can imagine
this
how
Gen Z era.
they're thinking.
This Gen Z era, I will feel they are very, very audacious. Like they are just, they just have this very big mind that yes, nothing can happen. Because
I think they are big risk takers, and with risk comes consequences.
Okay, so what role do you think healthcare practitioners, what role do you think they play in this stuff?
Okay, so
because it's somebody that is in it for them.
Now, just like I said earlier, the process is legal in Nigeria, and there are some advocates for it to be made legal. There are also people who are really against it and who say it should stay the way it is. But then there is a leeway for when there is a medical need for it in the hospital. Maybe after a misconception, maybe a situation where the baby comes out unplanned, there will be a need for some form of evacuation afterwards. But the role of healthcare provider right now should be more of a health educational perspective and usually psychological support. Because we talked earlier about a stigma associated with body shaming. We talked about the anxiety and the depression that can come with wanting to increase your body look. And so this is where the medical practitioners can come in. First of all, we have to debunk the myth that it's a good way to gain weight. It's actually not.
Totally, like scrap it, throw it.
The second thing would be we have to encourage people to talk to their doctors or medical practitioners when they have issues concerning their health. I'm sure most qualified medical practitioners will be able to guide people accordingly. Smaller platforms like what we're doing now is very important. I'm sure all of our listeners would actually gain one or two things, and they can send in comments, DMs, and also be able to.
If you are considering this thing, don't do it. What recommendations would you give a young girl going through like this body image stuff? Like she's not accepting the way she is, she wants more, she's seeing this trend, she has low self-esteem because she has smaller boobs, smaller buttocks and stuff like that.
So I would preach accepting yourself however you are, having a positive body image of yourself.
He didn't.
Apart from that, I would also advocate for self-love. When you love yourself enough, You know that other people would appreciate you however you are. But also preach family support for people who may need that. It helps a lot. Talking to a sister, talking to your mom is also very good. And also, I would want the family to also help and not just brush it aside. Oh, you see your daughter saying she doesn't like how slim she is, and then you compound the problem by telling her off. It's not the best thing. In extreme cases where there is serious body shaming and maybe anxiety and depression, those situations can only and should be handled more systemically, in the sense of involve healthcare practitioner, maybe a psychologist to evaluate and provide help, involve the family. Now, when there's a conversation about something like a myth, it becomes demystified, and then people, maybe, most likely, the situation would reduce over time.
So talking about the social media influencers, I think they are one of the major problems we have in this stuff. Because I thought I would come with you to go and get a BBS. I just got kiniko. They make it seem like social media life is the real one. There's no life beyond that. And then they have like a perfect life. And these young girls, whether we like it or not, this generation Z, we are more of like what we see on social media. We have people that we like. These social media influencers, we like them, we want to be like them, want to emulate them, want to like do stuff that they do. So my favorite just got Kiniko, them to say so that maybe we'll be in the same category, we'll be in the same, all of these stuffs. And also I would like to ask, okay, now we are talking about the causes of these stuff being low self-esteem, societal pressure. Do you think it is regarding guys, like they want to impress guys?
I believe.
And do you think the guys even care?
I believe the phenomenon is multifactorial. You can't just point it at
as one thing. Yes.
For a situation where the female herself has low self-esteem, then it's a combination of a low self-esteem plus societal norms and possibly also maybe lack of men attention that will drive her into something of such. So we have to, that's why whichever case happens and we notice, you have to try and understand where the problem is coming from to know how we can better address it. So my other opinion would be that you can just lay the blame on men because there are men that like different specifications of women and preferences. So even though I mentioned earlier that African men tends to favor curvier women, but there are slim Africans and slim Nigerians.
Well, I feel in reality, safe, this men, they can just say it's conversation, you like pictures of all these girls. But in reality, safe, they are still with all these slim. It still comes down to preference. And there are some people that still stick with their choices and everything.
Exactly, I agree with you.
So the stuff is just to love yourself. So
love yourself, basically.
So what would you say to somebody that has gone through this? And I want to ask a question. Is it that these girls, is it that once they get their weight, is it that the weight cannot, because people that are pregnant too,
that's
the weight can still, like, you can come back to your normal size?
I like this question because it goes to the crux of the matter. So usually, because gestational weight gain
Not permanent.
It's not permanent, but like I mentioned earlier, the most weight gain is gained usually in the second to the third trimester. And in which case, most of these incidents usually occurs maybe in early second trimester or first trimester, in which case the amount of weight gain itself actually is not sufficient or big enough. Usually, some months or some years later, they lose all of that weight.
Then what do they do?
It's poor knowledge that has pushed
We
you
did
into
do
that.
it again and let's go
That's
again.
why the incidence is increasing. So somebody that has seen it done at 3 months, the next time may decide to increase it to end of second trimester, say 6 months. In which case she risks more complications at an advanced stage of pregnancy. So the ultimate thing is just love yourself, talk to somebody, get help from a medical practitioner. Not everything on social media should be followed. Just
trend. You don't have to follow every trend. Some are just meant to stay as trends. And I would like to say to you people that are doing this thing, you don't know that it's just that your own is different. You're hired as assassin because you are bringing children, you are making sure you are keeping them like that because of your own personal. That's not something I have to say to you. So what would you like to say to the listeners in general, like just a takeaway for them, and we'll just round up.
Okay, so basically, I would like to just preach healthy living, which includes good lifestyle, do a little bit of sport, be active, ensure your mental health is fine, talk to somebody if you need help, don't keep everything inside you. Depression is real, but depression can get help.
Yeah.
Most medical conditions, even if you can't get help, you may need to talk to a medical practitioner to just educate you better, and maybe you can better live with the condition if there's no solution. Or if there is, then you'll be better for it. Ultimately, eat good food, drink a lot of water, and mind your business.
Mind your business. All right, thank you very much for joining us. It was lovely having you right here in the studio. And for our listeners, as you can see, behind reality, we delve into all these deep topics that you do not think even exist. It's shocking to me too. So if you have stuffs like this, probably more shocking topics you would want us to talk about and we've not spoken about yet, you can drop a comment or send us a direct message. Thank you very much. Bye.